Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello dear students, wishing you a good day. We have here a alluring and cute poem about schoolmaster. Today we are going to discuss about the poem The Village Schoolmaster, written by Oliver Goldsmith. First of all, we discuss about the poet. Oliver Goldsmith was an Anglo-Irish poet, and he was not only a poet but also a dramatist, playwright, and novelist. He was born on November 10, 1728. His father named Charles Goldsmith and mother Anne. When he was 8 years old, at that time, he had a severe attack of smallpox, which disfigured him for life. In spite of repeated interruptions, disturbance in his studies, although he managed to take his BA degree. Oliver Goldsmith was remarkable for his literary genius. He is known for his humanity and humor. His most popular novel, The Vicar of Wakefield, it has delighted generation of young and old readers. He also wrote 2 long poems. First one, The Traveller. Second one, The Deserted Village. The present poem, The Village Schoolmaster, is an extract from The Deserted Village. The poet feels sad at disappearance of an idealistic picture of his native village of Lissoy. It was deserted as a result of the Industrial Revolution. The pen portrait of the village schoolmaster is one of the most enduring in the whole of English literature. The original of the schoolmaster is supposed to be Thomas Barron. And the question arises that who was Thomas Barron? Thomas Barron was a retired soldier who had opened a school at Lissoy. The poem gives a character sketch of the village schoolmaster who taught the villagers there. It also gives views of children and the villagers about the schoolmaster. It is one of the best known poems of the 18th century. Moreover, at the end, Oliver Goldsmith died prematurely, early in his age, in 1774, due to his self-misdiagnosis of his kidney infection. He was buried in Temple Church in London. At the end, I want to tell you a famous quote by Oliver Goldsmith. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but it is rising every time we fall. So before we discuss the poem, I will read it. Listen carefully. Beside yon straggling fence that skirts the way, with blossomed furze, unprofitably gay, there in his mansion, skilled to rule, the village master taught his little school. A man severe he was, and stern to view. I knew him well, and every tron knew. Well had the boding tremblers learned to trace the day's disasters in his morning face. Full well they laughed with counterfeited glee at all his jokes, for many a joke had he. Full well the busy whisper circling round conveyed the dismal tidings when he frowned. Yet he was kind, or if severe in aught, the love he bore to learning was in fault. The village all declared how much he knew. 'Twas certain he could write and cipher too. Lands he could measure, terms and tides presage, and even the story ran that he could gauge, and in arguing too, the person owned his skill, for even though vanquished, he could argue still. While words of learned length and thundering sound amazed the gazing rustics ranged around, and still they gazed, and still the wonder grew, that one small head could carry all he knew. Let us try to understand the poem. First stanza. Beside yon straggling fence that skirts the way, with blossomed furze, unprofitably gay, there in his mansion, skill to rule, the village master taught his little school. Here, fence, it means boundary or barrier. Skirts, it means go round. Blossomed means mass of flowers. Furze, it means grass. Unprofitably, it means being without profit. Gay, J-Y gay, it means merry or happy. Mansion, it means large, impressive house. Here, in this particular stanza, the poet expresses that the school was situated on the outskirts of the village. Fence that skirts the way. It means beside over there, the barrier made maybe by wood and spreading out around with blossomed furze. It means with the flowers and grass inside that area. It means that around the school there is a lot of flowers and grass grown. The village schoolmaster used to teach his little school. He was a highly skilled person and he lived in a mansion. And school was located beside his house. Poet tells in a second line, unprofitably gay. Underline the word unprofitably gay, because now schoolmaster had passed away. No one was there to enjoy. Now we can move to the second stanza. A man severe he was, and stern to view. I knew him well, and every tron knew. Well had the boding tremblers learned to trace the day's disasters in his morning face. Here, severe and stern. These two words means strict, or you can say harsh. Truant, T-R-U-A-N-T, truant. It means one who stay away from a school without permission. Boding, it means predicting, telling the future. Tremblers, shake inviolently. Trace, mark out or finish out. In the last line, there is a one praise is there. Day's disasters, it means misfortune. They have to face that. In the first line, a man severe he was, and stern to view. The poet tells about that the master appears to the children that he was strict, and he was strict to look as well. Particularly in the line, I knew him well, and every truant knew. It means the poet knew the schoolmaster, and he tells that even the student who stay away from the school without permission, it means you can say that bunk the class without any reason. That also known by this schoolmaster. The boding tremblers learned to trace. It means the students were afraid of him, and they were sufficiently clever to assess from his face whether it's a good or a bad day. They used to think if his mood is not good, then their days is going to be bad. Now we can move to the next stanza. Full well they laughed with counterfeited glee at all his jokes, for many a joke had he. Full well the busy whisper, circling round, conveyed the dismal tidings when he frowned. Here, counterfeited glee, it means pretending joy. Whisper, it means to speak very softly. Conveyed, it means suggest. Dismal, it means miserable or very bad. Frowned, it means as in a displeasure or a sign of anger. The poet expresses in this particular stanza, the village schoolmaster ran his school very strictly. Full well they laughed with counterfeited glee. In this line, poet expresses that he had many jokes and they were old jokes. The children laughed at his jokes even though the jokes were not so funny or the children could not understand his jokes. Yet they used to laugh at it. Full well the busy whisper, circling round, conveyed the dismal tidings when he frowned. It means if they noticed any sign of anger on his face, they would spread the news throughout the classroom. So the schoolmaster was famous because of his strictness and knowledge. Now we can move to the next stanza. Yet he was kind, or if severe in aught, the love he bore to learning was in fault. The village all declared how much he knew. 'Twas certain he could write and cipher too. Here, the word ought, first line, last word, ought, A-U-G-H-T, it means in any degree, anything whatever. And in a second line, there is a word bore, it means drill into. Fault, it means responsibility for something wrong. Twas, T-W-A-S, it means there was. It is a shortened form. Certain, it means unfailing. Cipher, it means code or a secret message. Here in this line, yet he was kind or if severe in aught. It means though the schoolmaster was strict, although he was very kind at heart and helping natured person. In second line, the love he bore to learning was in fault. It gives the meaning like this way. Master had a fault that he used to love learning things. He was particularly shrewd and pretended to be a scholar. And in the line, the village all declared how much he knew. It means one day villagers decided to test him for his wisdom. In the last line of the stanza, 'twas certain he could write and cipher too. It means Master was able to write and solve the secret messages and solve the mathematical problems such as more complex as well as calculating liquid in a barrel or rainfall. So here I will tell you a tongue twister. You just listen it and enjoy. If possible, try it. A real mathematician can mathematically mathematize mathematics in a mathematical mathematicalization. So if a mathematician can mathematize mathematics in a mathematical mathematicalization, why can't you mathematically mathematize mathematics in a mathematical mathematicalization? Like the mathematician who mathematically mathematizes mathematics in a mathematical mathematicalization. Oh, okay. I think you enjoyed it. Now we can move to the Next stanza. Lands he could measure, turns and tides presage, and even the story ran that he could gauge. In arguing too, the person owned his skill, for even though vanquished, he could argue still. Here, measure, it means size. Presage, it means foretell or telling the future. Gauge, G-A-U-G-E, measure. And vanquished, it means defeat. Specifically in this stanza, poet highlighted the qualities of the schoolmaster. Master had ability to measure, mark the boundaries for the field, and he could predict the weather, find the dates of religious festivals. In the fourth line of this stanza, for even though vanquished, he could argue still. It means he had a skill of arguing. Even when he lost at something, it means talking. He had a skill to fight back. Now we can move to the next stanza. While words of learned length and thundering sound amazed the gazing rustics ranged around, and still they gazed, and still the wonder grew, that one small head could carry all he knew. Here, length, it means size. Thundering, it means producing extraordinary sound. Rustics, it means villagers. In the first line, while words of learned length and thundering sound, that gives the meaning like this way. The way he talked and strength in his voice made villagers get surprised. Villagers started staring at him. They wondered how he can do so many things with a single head. He had the knack of impressing the innocent villagers that he was a great scholar. In the last two lines, and still they gazed, and still the wonder grew, that one small head could carry all he knew. It means village people, they all accepted that he was really knowledgeable person. At the end, we can say that the pen portrait of the village schoolmaster is a humorous and the same time endearing and lovable. The people all accepted that he is a knowledgeable person. Okay. Now we can have a glance over a poem. The schoolmaster was strict. The school was situated on the outskirts of the village. Schoolmaster was severe and disciplinarian. The students were afraid of him, and they were sufficiently clever to assess from his face whether that day would bring any misfortune or not. In spite of his strictness, the schoolmaster was kind. The children laughed at his jokes with pretended joy. If they noticed any sign of anger on his face, then they would spread the news throughout the classroom. His only fault was his excessive love for learning. Schoolmaster could write, work out sums, survey land, forecast the time and tide, and measure. He was a master at argument also. He used more words than necessary. When he talked, and the simple village people, they were amazed that such a small head could carry such an enormous hoard of knowledge. Thank you.